I can't help but notice you coming down the street, smiling so dearly at everyone you meet. And I can't help but notice you throwing me a glance, a wink telling me there's a chance. I've just got eyes for you.
Fuck! Why is it so faded? Oh, I have to get a new ink belt for this typewriter. Since this month we're kind of on a Paper Mario marathon, our next suspect is I'm Glower, who, depending on who you ask, is the best Paper Mario speedrunner in the world. But why the disclaimer? Well, that's because while he does have runs that would be considered world records, he is completely blacklisted from the Paper Mario speedrun leaderboards for controversy that arose in January of 2022. Currently, he stands accused of sexually harassing 4 different women, but technically, one of the women was contacted and denies any of these allegations of harassment, so there's actually only 3 potential cases, but we're gonna go over all 4. Before we even got to this point, initially, Glower had reached out to me through my tip line talking about Strider. I had no idea who I was talking to, so I low-key ignored it. Little did I know that this was the best Paper Mario speedrunner in the world who was now asking me to cover his case. I was in the neighborhood looking for Paper Mario, and that shit found me. So I was like, alright, let's get it. What I absolutely didn't expect, though, was the insane overreactions and random assumptions for the heinous crime of reaching out to the involved parties. If I'm talking to Glower, the subject of the video, obviously I'm gonna want to talk to the women too, right? It's only fair. Wrong! Nah, just kidding. That's absolutely what you're supposed to do. So I spoke to one of the women, Katz, with no problem. She even sent me a document privately that was very illuminating, and we'll get to that in a second. Another party that I contacted, who will remain anonymous, also provided a helpful testimony as someone close to the case. Exactly how I expected it to go. Okay, nothing out of the ordinary. But when I asked the main girl, Sienna, the same exact question, she instantly screenshotted my DM, posted it, called my intent garbage and disingenuous, said that regardless of what she says, she'll be attacked by my platform of incels, hit me with a shame on you, and then complained about a 2-day deadline before telling me that she could in fact meet that same deadline and have a response to me by tomorrow evening. Why the fuck did you willingly choose to lose sleep and meals over this? Are you insane? You know, just because I'm a YouTuber doesn't mean you can't talk to me like a normal person. Not everything has to be shouted out in a thread. Also, have you ever heard of a job, lady? I have shit to get done. So yeah, I gave you my internal deadline of 2 days, and if you needed more time, you coulda asked for it. But does that even matter? Because you defeated your own argument by posting an entire essay in 2 days, while simultaneously refusing to answer a list of only 6 questions. In one part you wrote, I wanted a chance to share all of this, to again have control over my own story, and not have that taken from me by a content creator known for engaging with and creating a platform full of bigots. Okay, hold on. Fuck Glower, and fuck this entire investigation for a second. Me and you have beef now. Technicals and Sienna. I was completely fair to you, asked you for your side so you could speak for yourself, and in return, you were nothing but rude and entitled the entire time. Even after I tried to look past your obvious provocation in DMs. So I hope you feel real stupid watching this after you realize that I did in fact agree with like 90% of your write-up, and you did all those theatrics for no reason. And don't worry about me using this for clicks, okay? Who do you think I am? I would never do that. Just kidding, that's exactly what I'm gonna do, because Papa don't work for free. This video was brought to you by Aura. If you want to lock down your personal info faster than a Paper Mario Discord mod, then today's sponsor, Aura, is your guy. Most people don't know that you can just submit opt-out requests for these people lookup websites, and they legally have to remove it because of data privacy laws. But that's only a temporary fix, because the second you get a new number, change addresses, literally any update to your info, data brokers are waiting to sell it all over again. But that's the great thing about Aura, because they'll constantly issue takedown requests for predatory data broker registries, so you never have to lift a finger. But if that isn't enough, it also comes with identity theft and fraud protection, parental controls for your kiddos, credit score monitoring, and everyone's favorite, a VPN, which is becoming more and more necessary in today's digital landscape and is also why I personally use Aura on a day-to-day basis. If you'd like to try it for yourself for 14 days free, just go to aura.com/technicals and I'll hook you up. I've loved working with these guys for the past 6 months and they've been a huge help for the channel. So thank you once again to Aura for sponsoring this video. Now let's get right back to cracking this case wide open. Naturally, because this case was about a speedrunner, I wanted to do my due diligence and join the Paper Mario speedrunning Discord to hopefully cross-reference information and ask questions if needed. Silly me. I should have known I would instantly get banned by a moderator without typing a single word for, quote, my record with other communities, my video about Strider, and the simple fact that I was now considering making one on I'm Glower. What was I thinking? Frankly, making content about stuff you are completely uninvolved in and reigniting the trauma of the affected individuals is detestable. Isn't that like all of journalism in recorded history? You're telling me that unless I personally sexted this Paper Mario speedrunner, I can't talk about it? Well, guess I know what I have to do now.
Sex!
How's this?
Sex through the night.
So you think, oh, tech, you can just hop on an alt and research the Discord anonymously, right? No problem. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? They paused all invites for the server after I tweeted about the ban because I thought it was insanely funny to unironically tell someone, you're not welcome in the Paper Mario community. Seriously? We're gonna gatekeep fucking Paper Mario now. To be honest, I was not expecting that post to do numbers. I just thought it was a little cringe, and I guess thousands of other people agreed. At this point, they knew people were gonna join to ask why I got banned, and probably troll them. So, I mean, I guess that's fair. You give some shut-ins who have nothing better going on a little bit of power, it just instantly goes to their head. I don't give a fuck. I don't play Paper Mario, motherfucker. I'm there to just look at shit and ask questions. If you don't have anything fucking weird in the Discord, you wouldn't need to worry about me being there to screenshot it. That's all I'm saying, okay? You can play your little sister dating sims in peace. I'm not gonna bother you. For now, let's just explain the order in which all the allegations came out so we know why this happened, and then we can elaborate on each woman's specific claims in their own chapter. The short story is that Sienna, Cats Forever, and his ex Jen are the primary sources accusing him of uncomfortable sexual behavior or persistent sexual harassment. The first time this was ever mentioned as a serious problem was around July 27, 2020, from Sienna. After witnessing the countless cases of abuse throughout the gaming community, she felt inspired to write a document reflecting on her own relationships and recounting her experiences. The original version of this document contained a section on Glower, but after some thought about the potential consequences to his platform and their friend group, she redacted his portion before posting it to Twitter. But in an attempt to make Glower understand her feelings at the time and the negative impact he had had on her, Sienna sent the unredacted version to him just so he could read it. Now, for some reason, Glower didn't read the part where she explicitly told him it was edited out to protect his image, so he mistakenly made a whole document titled, I hurt our friend Sienna, and then posted this to his inner circle because he was convinced that he had to defend himself to his friends. This is an incredible misunderstanding, like, he really fucked that one up. Undeterred by the unprompted self-expose, most of his and Kat's community seemed to move past it relatively quickly, and even Sienna returned after ample time to process her feelings. However, her newfound forgiveness hinged on whether Glower could refrain from repeating the same mistakes he had just made with her. And for a while, things were looking like they were finally back to normal. We're gonna go from easiest to most complicated stories here because we can get through at least the first two pretty quickly. But because Sienna alludes to all of these women in her document, which ended up being the biggest and most widely referenced piece on Glower, I think it makes sense to deal with hers last so we can go into it knowing all the extra context. Besides DMs from Glower, we really don't have much information on this ex-girlfriend, who has been given the pseudonym Lexy. But according to what we do have, which is allegedly a DM with her, everything sexual was consensual, which would rule out sexual harassment as an allegation. So why is she even involved in this story then? Well, Sienna had alluded to Glower harassing 4 women, and when she stated that she wasn't the first woman he harassed, she implicated any of the women involved with Glower prior to her. Despite claiming to have permission from every woman mentioned in her document, Sienna later admitted that she never reached out to Lexy, as she didn't feel it would be appropriate after disrespecting her by flirting with Glower while they were still in a relationship. There's also an apology to her in this new document where she tries to make it seem like not reaching out to her was because she cared so much about not putting her in a place to remind her of harm. Really, Sienna? That's what we're going with? So you're telling me you implicated this woman in a publicly posted allegation without warning her because you were worried about reminding her of harm? I'm going to be honest, that kind of sounds like bullshit. Don't you think it's kind of pathetic to pretend like it was because you cared about her peace of mind just so you can say the same thing you said to me and somehow make it a sneak diss for a YouTuber? This right here is way more dishonest than anything I've done while trying to cover this story. And this kind of immature and petty lying really trivializes the whole victim complex you got going on here. Cats Forever was a viewer of Glower, just like Sienna. And in 2020, around the beginning of April until the end of June, she was romantically pursuing him. Glower does this thing where he's in a limbo state between dating and friends with a lot of these women, and then he'll just straight up ghost them if he's feeling overwhelmed before going straight back to flirting with them. He did this with both Cats and Sienna, and unsurprisingly, neither of them were too excited about it. In the instance with Cats, right after they had their first private voice call, Glower immediately ghosted her messages for like the next few days. I don't know why he did this, because at the same time he was messaging Sienna about Cats and also kind of flirting with Sienna, but this left a pretty sour memory for the rest of their friendship. Now, Cats was very stern on the no nudes policy. She hadn't given anyone else nudes, and Glower was not about to be the first. I suspect that one of the main problems was that the culture they cultivated in that community was one of very flirtatious banter that would sometimes materialize into these one-on-one conversations and relationships. And when it finally got to that point with one-on-one Snapchats, the jokes would stop being jokes and become genuine sexual solicitation. When Cats was talking to Sienna about Glower's snaps, she mentioned how he sent me a pic of a chocolate bar and all I replied with was chocolate is pog. And then he's like, my dick tastes like chocolate, feels amazing, man. Oh my God. First off, Elriz, what are you doing? Secondly, if you're going to type stuff like this, you can't at the same time be flirting with Sienna and also tell her that you're getting overly attracted girlfriend vibes from Cats and that you're not interested. What are you even doing? Bringing up the fact that she has a crush on you to tease her when you know you have no plans to reciprocate her feelings because it would be a long-distance relationship and ergo, you don't want to deal with that, and then sending her mixed signals that make her question your intent like right after she expresses interest in someone else is not cool, and you definitely shouldn't be keeping women in your back pocket for a rainy day. That's my personal opinion as just a guy looking in on this. Professionally, while I don't condone this behavior, this by itself itself isn't quite at the level of being full-on blacklisted from speedrunning. I feel like we need a little bit more here, because in the grand scheme of things, he was just kind of being a dick and leading this girl on for no reason. That's not a crime. But you can start to see from his own responses how this is building a case for Glower lacking impulse control over Snapchat in particular. Jen initially made a response to Glower, but deleted it so quickly that I couldn't find an existing archive, and she's no longer on social media as far as I'm aware. But there's enough evidence and admissions on Glower's part and a couple screenshots here and there to where we can piece together what happened. Their relationship lasted for around 8 months. And Jen was the first woman to break Glower's e-dating streak by actually meeting up with him in person for 3 weeks. Things were getting serious, but naturally, with more investment, Glower stood to lose a lot more than his previous flings. This time, he saw a future with Jen, so when they suddenly broke up like a week after arguing over buying her a scarf, he was not taking it well. Like, at all. Of course, there could have been some genuine complaints and not getting what she wanted out of the relationship, but Glower was launching a full-on investigation into Jen hanging out with another guy, Alex, because they started dating immediately following their breakup. He discovered that while he was still dating Jen, they had made a Spotify playlist together on October 30th. And the next day, he followed her on Twitch. As Glower puts it, he may have been the magnet that pulled her away from me. I don't know if Paper Mario creators are built different, but this is the second story I've covered, and this is the second guy to have his girl taken from him. We're 2 for 2 now. Needless to say, the post-breakup crash out was about as bad as it gets. If it had ended with this standard chain of "I'll be better, take me back" style posting, then I doubt that any of us would be hearing about it years later. But on November 7th, Glower had one more strategy to try to change her mind. Bringing up sex. He floated the idea of friends with benefits, but Jen wanted to keep her relationship closed, which I can respect. Say no to polyamory, kids. Not a good idea. Always bad. Shout out to the BlazBlue community. The BlazBlue? BlazBlue? Whatever. After she declined, he asked if he could send a photo. This is already sounding bad, but she agreed, just as long as it wasn't sexual. He sends an inoffensive image, but then immediately tags on some comments about their sexual history. Jen found this repulsive, and in response to that, Glower called her shameless and selfish. Interestingly enough, she didn't block him because they would later hop on a call and he apologized for this outburst and Jen chose to forgive him, but would never forget. Never forget what happened on November 7th. However, it appears like the main aggregating factor for Jen coming back and then posting what happened that day was because Glower kept going to friends to try to vent about his breakup with Jen, and the way that he was framing things and being super upset, and it's like, I loved her, but she broke up with me. Jen didn't like that because it felt like she was being painted as the bad guy, and it was pissing her off. Between reading all these communications and talking to Glower myself and one of his acquaintances, I would not be surprised if he was on the spectrum, like, at all. There's a consistent lack of understanding basic social cues, and even the way that he explains situations after the fact and the amount of evidence that he's archived, only a man that loves Sonic would do something like that, if you catch my drift. It makes me think that he doesn't like fully comprehend why he's in trouble in the first place. Just like venting to women that are in the same friend group and then expecting them not to tell each other. Really? That caught you off guard. Or when Sienna has to sit him down and explain to him why sexting 2 girls at the same time is probably going to piss them off. However, that's an explanation, not an excuse for the behavior. I'm just telling you how I'm reading it as an outside observer. What Glower sent Jen after she broke it off was absolutely inappropriate. But when you factor in the context that this is coming from a desperate boyfriend trying to salvage his failing relationship within days of the breakup, I really don't see how that's any of my or anyone else's concern. Is it sad and pathetic? Sure, 100%. but do we need to get the entire internet involved? Cause it looks to me like none of this ever happens with Glower as long as you don't plan on fucking him at some point. The way people in the Paper Mario community describe him, I was expecting for this guy to be sending his dick to random female viewers and asking for nudes. But what I got was him begging to get back with his ex-girlfriend in the most pathetic way possible, and leading on women over Snapchat that either openly express romantic interest, or in the case of Sienna, was actually sexting him, and at sometimes initiating the sexting herself. As stated previously, Sienna reached out to Glower while he was in a relationship with Lexy. What prompted Glower's first DMs with her was a chat she sent during his stream that made it seem like she was sexually interested in him. Being that she was into speedrunning and Glower was at the top of his category, she was starstruck. This adoration for his status and achievements is something that she says contributed to their unhealthy relationship. A few days after this interaction, Glower breaks up with Lexy, and then Sienna describes how she initiated most of the conversations that led to their romantic involvement. It was clear at this point that they both had feelings for each other, but seeing as how Sienna was in a Mormon university and a virgin, pretty much everything from this point onward would be unexplored territory. There's a slight contradiction between Sienna admitting to initiating most of the sexual conversations because she was excited and wanted to explore, but then immediately claiming that Glower was using her status as a virgin to manipulate her into doing things she wasn't comfortable with. It's kind of hard to judge without having the archives, but asking about masturbation, for instance, seems pretty normal as far as lewd conversations go. Maybe this is like a Mormon thing, but I don't know. She clarifies that she did all of this willingly anyways, so I don't know why she included it. As things keep marching forward, their fling starts to develop into deeper one-on-ones about their future, and the potential costs if they chose to visit each other. However, school had other plans. Their long conversations turned to hour-long delays, then days, until Glower would eventually stop responding altogether. This is the kind of clueless response I'm talking about, because how could Glower agree that they should call it quits after ignoring her, but then still think that he could pop in randomly to talk to her because he's horny? And even crazier than that, he ghosts the woman and then still gets the pics. How is he doing this? Genuinely, how is he getting away with this? Sienna was getting tired of being treated like this, so she cut it off. All the way until Christmas break, where after Glower yet again was hitting her up for nudes, she says that she didn't feel pressured at all and found it really satisfying that he wanted to get off to her. Okay. Now realizing that she was falling back into the same pattern, Sienna drunkenly asked him one night if he cared about her at all, or if he was just in it for the sexting. To which Glower responded, "I don't know. I don't even really know you." Wow. Sorry, playa. I wasn't aware of your game. This guy knows ball. Everything I just read you, up until the next part that we're about to go over, I really think Sienna could have left out, because we learned nothing of value, everything was consensual, and her own lack of self-respect as a college-aged woman is just embarrassing. People will just put anything on the internet nowadays. Like, there's just no shame whatsoever. In January, things were looking up for Sienna. She's now seeing someone that isn't Glower and had a flight booked for their highly anticipated first meetup. 2 weeks before the trip, guess who's back? Glower's making his monthly check-in for nudes until he's met with the harrowing knowledge that she is unavailable because of her new boyfriend. He asked her a few invasive questions about their relationship, but backed off the second that she said she was uncomfortable and apologized. Fast forward to the second trip with her boyfriend, and everything is already falling apart. Sienna is once again not happy with the relationship that she's in. So of course, she goes to Glower to vent about it, for whatever reason. This is where things start to get a little more questionable, because she is reframing information from the private document that she sent to a friend to when she would later post that same document to Twitter, because she claims to have not intentionally changed the narrative, but that it was written more charitably towards Glower to prevent their friend from blowing up the situation any further. Obviously, it's possible that she's telling the truth and just wanted to protect his image, but we also can't 100% rule out the possibility that she did in fact change the wording retroactively to make it worse. Sienna stated that Glower was very supportive of her as she recounted the issues she was having with her boyfriend, and that despite mentions of their past sexual history, it was an overall positive interaction. But in the Twitter version, she removed both statements that described how it was a positive conversation, but left in everything else. Now, even if we give her the benefit of the doubt here, nothing about the story itself meaningfully changed besides her frame of mind while writing it. And she didn't replace the description with something more accurate, she just removed all the parts where it didn't sound bad. Now, I'm not saying that means Glower wasn't being weird, because he admits to that plenty of times himself. But I do think it puts some of her framing of severity into question. Moving forward in her story, this next one Glower just kind of admits to in his own document. He was trying to get her to dump her boyfriend, and he seems confused on whether she was serious or not when telling him to stop, either alluding to sexual thoughts or solicitation. Giving a hypothetical apology might as well be an admission of guilt. This isn't the OJ trials. But Glower claims that he may have misinterpreted her comments as jokes rather than genuine uncomfortability because of her frequent use of emojis. I'm not so sure about this part because I feel like if you've talked to someone long enough, you can start to pick up on their cues a lot more frequently, and it's not that hard to recognize if they're horny or not after the 5th or 6th attempt. So, I don't know if I can buy that one. This was definitely inappropriate. That's why I'm confused when right after she broke up with the boyfriend, right, that she was just venting about, she went straight back to sending Glower more nudes. What is even going on here anymore? For reference, just so you have a timeline of events, this was the same time that Glower was having issues with cats. So just keep that in mind if you're wondering how this fit into the story. Sienna was at a low point, once again, and she wanted the attention of Glower so she could feel desired. At first, she told him no when he hit her up when he found out that she was single, but then she initiated the sexting herself a few days later. Pay attention here because this is one of the most insane narrative spins that Sienna attempts. Notice how she admitted to initiating the sexting, right? She later removed that wording and replaced it by saying that she gave in and gave him what he wanted. As if she didn't just explicitly explain that she was asking for this. Literally asking for this. You had a slam dunk on him being pushy and weird in your DMs, and then you follow it up by lying about wanting to sext him? Why is any of this necessary? Why are we doing this? Then she does the same thing by removing the part where she explained how she didn't want anything with him except for satisfying her physical desires, and how she didn't want to use him when they were considering being friends with benefits for a little bit. How is it that she's okay with being friends with benefits, but she draws the line at asking to visit? This pattern of Glower asking for nudes and Sienna not really feeling it, but sending him naked photos of herself anyways, continues for a while. But she would allegedly, every single time, end off the session with, "We are done, this is the last time, I don't want this." Now on Glower's end, he was receiving mixed messages and never really got the hint that she was done with him, given how she was still sexting him, engaging in his community, and generally maintaining friendly communications. Is it possible for a second, just floating the idea, that there may have been some miscommunication here? The Paper Mario moderators came to a conclusion almost immediately after Sienna's twitlonger and struck Glower from the leaderboards, and his existence would become somewhat of a taboo. No linking to his runs or talking about him in the Discord, and fellow speedrunners like Morph would pretend that their runs were the world records, despite knowing that Glower had better times that were still on his channel and had previously been successfully submitted to the leaderboard website.
What is world record? No, this is world record now. This time you see right here is world record.
Doesn't it seem at least slightly cringe to claim that a time almost an entire minute slower is the new world record? You couldn't just remove his name, label the time anonymous, and leave it up for posterity's sake? because you're just lying to yourself at that point. That's not the world record. I mean, I would have loved to reach out to the mod team to talk to them about their thought process behind the ban and how the leaderboard functions with cases like this. But unfortunately, I was banned from the server before I could even send a single message. So, and mods like JCOG already have me blocked on Twitter. So I don't think they're really open to discussion. Glower was, and potentially still is, the best Paper Mario speedrunner in the entire world. But because he couldn't control himself over Snapchat, crashed out on his ex-girlfriend, and couldn't stop milking a Mormon for nudes, all of his dirty laundry got posted online at the same time, resulting in the loss of his status and respect in a community he had dedicated years of his life to. His MO of throwing out jokes to see if women are interested and leading them on once he's aware of their feelings is absolutely shitty, and nobody likes a guy that can't take a hint. But if we sat here and litigated everyone's personal relationships and then used that as the benchmark for participation in society, then a lot of people would be kind of screwed. Do I think that he should be entirely deplatformed like Sienna? Sienna's story is by far the worst case against Glower, and even then, she was able to forgive him or go so far as sexting him right after moments that allegedly made her uncomfortable. I don't know about you guys, but my first inclination after someone makes me uncomfortable isn't to send them a picture of my dick. So excuse me if I have some reservations about her judgment. However, I'm not a monster, okay? I'm not as heartless as they paint me out to be in the headlines. I do believe this is a case where we can happily meet in the middle. Glower's behavior shouldn't be rewarded or condoned. He wasn't innocent here. This isn't a complete vindication. But I don't think a lifetime ban fits the crime. This entire case amounts to relationship drama. He didn't rape anybody, there's no assault, no grooming, and hell, he didn't even cheat in a speed run. He was simply caught being desperate and pathetic with women who liked him. And it's been what, like 4 years, a month, and some change since he was banned? Does that not seem like enough punishment? Is Paper Mario speedrunning really that serious? I don't think so. I'm generally of the belief that people should have a chance to redeem themselves, whether that's away from a community or a chance back in the community. I don't think this was a crime where he's a threat to people and you need to keep him away with like a 100-foot-long pole. So if he wants to play Paper Mario, who gives a shit? Another day, another dollar. Here we go. See, I do care, guys. I changed the label and everything. Thank you guys for joining me on Turning the Page in the next saga of the Paper Mario coverage. There can't possibly be more stories for Paper Mario, right? I don't think I've seen any. We might have to move on to something else, but those are the two big cases in Paper Mario. I'm glad I could do that for you guys, and if you want me to do it for your community, make it interesting. And I'll see what I can do. I'm trying to get shit done weekly, but they dropped like 2 documents out of nowhere that I had to factor into the research as well. I had to read all of it, and, you know, I'm trying to do my due diligence. I really am. Despite people being rude as fuck when I ask them basic questions, I am trying to talk to people involved. Love you guys. Thank you so much for all the love on the last video. It was a 1 out of 10. It feels good to have my work be appreciated. And after this upload, I will start posting on the second channel, so make sure you have notifications turned on there. It's going to be kind of more an easygoing rant channel where I'll talk about more recent topics or things that I couldn't get to or I don't think need this much effort put into them, both camera work wise and scripting wise. They will be unscripted, so you can hear my raw thoughts if you're interested in that. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is it for today. Until next time.